Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue to get closer to a little bit more of our ancient 36 strategies you can deploy in wartime. Last time we talked about 指桑骂槐. It's about how to train your army. Basically set Mulberry as the example of the role model, and also scold means tell them, set boundaries, tell them no, what you cannot do, so that your Sephora, your new recruits can learn from the Mulberry and also get disciplined to know what you are supposed to do or not to do. So that's our strategy to build your army, basically. And then 隔岸观火 is today's phrase. We have 隔岸 means on the other side of the bank. So between you and your enemy, separated by a river. So 隔岸 simply means you're watching from your side of the bank, the opposite side, to watch your enemy side get into a fire situation. Okay, so 隔 we have this cliff. If you see 3 boxes of this kind of scales on a mountain, so it's a pretty rocky mountain visual depiction of that surface, and it's high rise like that without the slope. It's steep, right? So that's the sort of when you see this, you know it's talking about the typography. Is it called a typography? No. It talks about the landscape. It's something about the ground, the setting of the ground. Okay. And the right side, well, it's a kind of elegant shape, isn't it? It almost looks like a bottle with a long bottleneck thing. And then there is this stand of it there. Okay, so if you ever watch the collection of Chinese ancient bronzeware, there are all shapes and different serves at different functions. They have different names. I guess there was a whole system of what utensils to use for what occasions, and they're decorated differently, right? And of course, there are different people making this, and each have their own technology, have their own probably they're what's the word, commissioned to build such eloquent, like not eloquent, elaborate metalware for some sort of purpose, right? So each bronze maker, the blacksmith, is it called a blacksmith? Gosh, I'm losing it today. Somebody who is doing the metal work are not, they're not going to be the same, right? So there are different ways and different functions. So it's a whole world about bronzeware, and it represents civilizations from, 3,000-4,000 years ago. And one of them shaped kind of like that. And I think I've seen something like that in the museum. It stands on tripod. So it's like, tripod is a stable structure, right? If it's 4, one of them is going to be shorter than the other 3. So 3 is the surface, right? It's the surface determinant. So if you have 3, it's always going to stand on there. And then, so this is the tripod structure. And then you can see this is kind of uplifting from the ground level. So this is the main body. And then the top is kind of like the bottleneck thing. So the whole concept of this is, okay, there is this raising from the ground level. There is this space in between the bottom and what's the container is located. So there's this raised space up there. So that forms, when paired with this terrain symbol, that kind of cliff sign, it means the type of terrain, geographical feature that there is a gap, there's a distance in between. So eventually this geographic feature used to mean separate. So it's separated. You're not directly in contact with something. There is a raised ground. So it can be raised this way, separation, or can be horizontally, spatially, separated. And is another feature to say, okay, this is a high raised ground, right? This is above the bottom level, and then there's a flat surface, means it's above the ground. So it's a raised, elevated place. And then the bottom is the sound maker. But according to scholar, this is a type of ancient weaponry used to be used as a fence, and they later on used as a defense weaponry. So open for interpretation for that. And then this is the mountain sign we put over there. So an over here simply means the bank or the border, the side separated with supposedly like by a river, right? So something not easily crossable. It could be like a cliff, off the cliff, and this is a big valley down there. And then in the distance, you see the mountain. That could still be possible. Like you're on a high ground on this end, and far away, there's a mountain image. And in between, there's a big gap with or without water filled in between. So then that decides if it's a river or it's a valley, right? Same steepness, like separation in between. So you cannot go directly to the mountain. There is a downward going space over there. So that's our bank. So again, so this separation of the space, and this again visually shows you the separation of space, the mountain far away in the background or close to the horizon, and you are here kind of, I guess, defending your land from a high ground. So that's the kind of bank. Okay, Guan means watch, and this is the eyeball symbol with the iris depicted over there, and these are the white part of the eye. And I mean, human eye were horizontally placed, right? Because this is longer than this way, so horizontally long. But in Chinese language, we put it as vertically long. So this is the length, long side. This is the short side. So this is Chinese way of saving space. We draw the eyeball vertically like that, and then the ball shape in middle. And then here at the bottom is a simplified human figure. So we have this human figure, right? And when something attached to it on the top, so this thing is going to get separated a little bit, so you can see visually it's more balanced. But over here we have a human attached to the eyeball. That means human see. So human see simply means not only you mechanically see it, like the vision show into your eyeball, but because there's human attached to the eyeball, like human is going to read what's seen, right? And then depends on the upbringing or the environment the human is from, each human attached to this eyeball are going to see things differently, right? So the composition of seeing actually means the objective, seeing the things get into the eyeball, and the whole processing, like here, the brain, that's the extra layer or the filtering. So everybody see through their own framework. What we already here have in our brain is comes with this human package, and then attached with new information from the eyeball. So that's the human see. On the left side is bird symbol, which is the little bird head, little bird feet, and horizontally fluffy feathers over there. So this is a side view bird symbol. And the top is our simplified horn of sheep. This is horn of ox. This is horn of sheep. So sheep horn with a horizontal line, I mean, horizontal line, again, simplify the fluffy fur of the sheep. And then we have two mouth symbols over there. So over there, we have two animals in between sandwiched by two mouths. So when we see mouths, oftentimes, I mean, somebody who's giving orders, somebody who is telling you what to do, what not to do, somebody who is setting the rules, somebody is try to pass some historical knowledge to you. And together, this like objective world, the sheep, the bird, all represent things that are important to human society, right? A food source, right? Both of them are food sources, and the mouths are kind of telling you how to best either capture them or keep them or process them, make them food. However, it's knowledge about this natural resources that's being captured there. So all this knowledge attached to human see. So that's the kind of watch we're talking about. It's kind of hands off. You don't do anything yet, but you use your human see to observe what's happening. And behind you, all that knowledge from the past, from other people's experiences, that's how you're going to make the observation. It's not just simply seeing, it's attached to your past or a bigger collection of human knowledge. So that's the kind of watch. Okay, fire, we just have this cone shape and then the sparkles. So it's another super clean simplification of a fire, how a bonfire looks like that. It makes sense, right? Like even an alien who has had experience with fire probably can identify that's a fire symbol. Okay, so 隔岸观火 simply means you are standing on your side, and then in between you and the enemy, there's a trench or some separation, river or valley. You're on different side of the bank. And 隔 is like something in between, separated, right? There's a spacer in between you and the enemy. And here you're doing all your observation. You watch what's happening without action. So this is emphasizing on seeing without doing anything, right? You don't respond, you don't come up with a plan how to do yet, but behind it, all the past knowledge are computed, are plugged in to the new information of what you're seeing right now. Your enemy side is on fire. So 隔岸观火 has this unsaid message of when your enemy is on fire, you don't move, you watch. You don't attack them right away. You're definitely not helping them out by being a firefighter for them. What you do is to watch your enemy going under fire, watch your enemy getting into chaos. So over here, fire doesn't necessarily mean fire literally. It just means something's happening on your enemy camp. Things are going into disorder. Things are getting into chaotic situation. So in that moment, the best thing for you to do is to watch what's happening because okay, your side, like you as the leader or the strategist for your force, 36 stratagems. So is your opponent, the leader of them also know 36 stratagems. So how to deploy what a strategy. So every strategy here we're talking about, there is a counter strategy for that, right? It could be that fire is a disguise. It could be your enemy try to trick you, believing they are going into chaos. And if you at that moment going in, try to attack them, take advantage of this fire situation, you are going to be captured, fall right into their trap. So here, the advice is don't move yet. hold and watch what happened. Of course, here the unsaid part is you don't just stand there and watch, right? You have to gather information to find out what's really happening on the other side of the bank. And then you can tell better what move you're going to take next step. But right now, the best way is not to move. I think that's the lesson. And here I'm just using this abstract impressionist painting to give you a sense of it's not fire. It's, I mean, city lights. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. It's reflective on the water. Everything is awesome here. But imagine this is wartime. You're standing on this side of the bank. You're looking at the opposite side. And wartime, I mean, we're talking at the setting, the whole series came up from the wartime that's still like no firearms yet, right? So when you see on the opposite side of the bank, if something light up like that, it looks like a fire situation, right? It's not lit up by city lights, of course. But that means something is going on the other side, right? That catch your attention. That attention catching is the thing here, 隔岸观火. This advice is trying to tell you, okay, so you see what's happening over there, it's fire, it's light up in the dark. Something is happening on the opposite side, but before you know exactly what's happening, don't move yet. The point is to watch, to observe until you get more information. Don't just go in yet. So that's the lesson here. Touch into the currency of thinking about one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.